with Kevin Durant is I don't know for certain, and like I said, I don't have any inside information, Skip, whether or not Kevin Durant got a second opinion. But he did not get the reprieve that Kawhi Leonard got because even though Kawhi played those 8 games, he didn't do any more damage. He didn't completely rupture the quad. Kevin Durant didn't get that reprieve. Kevin Durant went out there when he wasn't 100% after getting clearances from the doctors, and we all believe that he ruptured an Achilles that was already probably partially torn. And so these situations are very, very similar. And Kawhi saying, I understand what he's going through. See, Skip, for me, it comes down to as simple as this. If the Warriors were up 3-1, would they have put Kevin Durant on the court? If they can answer that no, then he shouldn't have been out there to begin with. Because what you have to realize is that the Golden State Warriors are still a business. This is about a transaction. And so they monetize or they prioritize their number one goal, their number one priority, which is to win the championship over Kevin Durant's health. And see, a team will never tell a player, you will play tomorrow, you will do this. But they know once you get to that level, be it professional baseball, basketball, or football, they appeal to the competitive side. They'll appeal to the brotherhood, Skip. Skip, you know why they got on that plane to come see you, KD. You understand that you're the best player on this team. You understand, they understand that they can't win without you. That appeals to Kevin Durant. Because, Skip, remember, he gets into it a lot of times when guys question him. Also, it was reported that some of the executives in that organization, some of the players in that organization, had questioned Kevin Durant. Skip, what causes Kevin Durant to snap back on social media? Was some kid from Iowa or Minnesota says, Kevin, you a sucker. You supposed to be the best player, and you jump on board with the Golden State Warriors after they won 73 and went 73-9. So now you appealing to the man's competitive side. You're like, I ain't no sucker. I'm tough. Because all the time, Skip, this is a machismo. Basketball, football, this is about bravado. I'm better than you. So you appeal to that side to get them to go. Skip, that man was not even close. It was reported that his workout session went terrible. Before I turn over to you, Skip, I dislocated my arm my first year back in Denver. I think it was 2002. I missed about 4.5 weeks. And so they said, okay, I got cleared. The arm felt good. Skip, what I did is that they had a guy on the practice squad, a linebacker. We padded it up, and we went out there on Tuesday, which is normally the guy's day off, before I even practiced on Wednesday in order for me to play on Sunday. Now, I don't know the protocol in basketball, but normally, did they do Boogie Cousins like that? Did they say, Boogie, you're going to practice tomorrow and you're going to play the next day? Or did they give Boogie an opportunity? Did Boogie practice what? 5, 10, 15, 20 practices before they ultimately put him out there. You see where I'm going with this, Skip? But in actuality, when you look at Kawhi, when you look at KD, the only difference is that Kawhi got really, really smart. He got a second opinion, and that doctor told him to shut it down, and that's what he did.
You finished?
I'm done.
Good. Jen, is the show over yet? I don't know. I haven't spoken yet.
Yeah, you know what?
Oh, okay. Now it's my turn. Oh, okay. Thank you.
You always do. You always do that.
This topic angers me more by the day. And what that man, that guy number 2 who used to play for my San Antonio Spurs, had the audacity to say about what he did in San Antonio compared to what happened to Kevin Durant is completely out of bounds and completely over my edge because it's sending me over the edge. So I got 2 big points here, and the second one I'm going to throw right back in your face. But first of all, just to reiterate, what this man did a year ago to my Spurs was, it started out as a thigh bruise, and it lingered to the point that the most conservative and patient medical staff in all of sports, San Antonio's, finally gave in just to appease number 2 and his outside opinion doctor and his outside opinion physical therapist that had nothing to do with the Spurs. They appeased him by tagging it tendinosis, or what is that? I don't even know what it was.
Tendinosis.
Some weird term that I hadn't heard of to that point. And it indicated there was some inflammation of the quadriceps tendon, that it wasn't just musculature, that it went into the tendon, which I never believed, because no San Antonio doctor ever believed that. And I'm going to say this one more time just because he brought it up, comparing his situation to Kevin Durant's. I spoke to a doctor who told me he had examined that guy, number 2, back in San Antonio, and he said, I could find nothing wrong, that it was all in his head. But this tendinosis, or whatever it was, lingered into January to the point that it forced the San Antonio Spurs, the most player-friendly organization in all of sports, to finally call out this guy publicly by saying, hey, we have completely cleared him for all basketball activities. And what did he do? He shut it down. He threw it right back in their faces by saying, I'm still hurt, I can't play. And then it became clear that his uncle Dennis had taken over all of his basketball affairs, all of his business affairs, and it became very clear through lots of reports from lots of national reporters that Uncle Dennis wanted him out of San Antonio, either in New York or New Jersey or Brooklyn or in LA. And because of that, he shut it down for 73 games, which finally forced the hand of 2 potential future they're cinch Hall of Famers, Manu Ginobili and Tony Parker, to call a team meeting and put him on the hot seat and say, are you with us or not? This was in late March, just as the playoffs were looming, and they thought they had a chance to make a deep run, maybe even get to the finals. And I'm sure in the meeting he probably said nothing, because he rarely says anything, and they interpreted that as a no. And Tony Parker, God bless him, he's now retired. He just recently retired, as you know. Tony Parker, who has 4 rings.
Retired a couple years ago.
What's that? Oh, he retired a couple of years ago?
He retired a couple of years ago.
He was a finals MVP, and he's got 4 rings, and he made way more fourth-quarter clutch shots than this guy will ever dream of making. Yes, he did. You have no idea. You never watch my Spurs because you dismiss them as broccoli, and you don't eat broccoli. I eat broccoli every day, chicken and broccoli every day, twice a day. That's what I subsist on. That's what you should do. The point is that Tony Parker had ruptured his quadriceps tendon the year before that in the playoffs against Memphis. And he called out this guy by saying, and I quote, my injury is 100 times worse than his. 100 times. And that's exactly right. That frames it. The Hall of Famer Tony Parker said, my injury is 100 times worse than his, and that's all you needed to know. And obviously, that was the final nail in the coffin for that guy in San Antonio. And now he's in Toronto. Go ahead.
If you don't mind me asking, the San Antonio Spurs doctors cleared Kawhi. The Golden State Warriors doctors cleared Kevin Durant. And what happened?
Okay, but they're...
Now, both of them cleared. The doctor said everything was okay. Okay,
here's the big difference, and we went through this yesterday. Not to get too medically technical here, but Kevin Durant was said to have had, according to Golden State's press releases, a calf strain, right? So I'm going to have to accept that he had a calf strain. That's what they believed, and that's what they told the public.
Hold on, Skip. Skip, since when do you start accepting what teams say? That's not the Skip Bayless I know.
That's my premise to start with. And again, for those who don't know, the calf has 2 muscles in it. The gastrocs, the big one, the soleus is the little one. Right? And they meld into the Achilles tendon at the body. They kind of narrow and meld into the Achilles. And occasionally, any strain of the calf can signal that you have some pre-existing condition in the Achilles that you better monitor. Well, obviously, Kevin Durant, we thought he had a ruptured Achilles on May 8th when he pulled up lame the first time, because he looked behind him like, what just hit me in the back of the leg? Well, clearly he had some kind of tear in his Achilles. But again, when they MRI'd the calf on May the 8th, you don't think that was a lower leg MRI? You don't think you could see the Achilles and you could see there was some issue going on with the Achilles? Because it had to have micro tears or some kind of fraying or maybe even a small partial tear that was high risk. Because The calf muscle completely healed. I told you, I watched his pregame warm-up before Game 5 in Toronto. He looked sensational. He was explosive. He was firing into his jumper. He was pushing off and dunking. And we saw him in the game. Didn't he look 100% healthy as far as a calf strain would go? Okay, but the Achilles was hanging to me by a thread. It was on the thinnest of ice. And one move, one crossover step, and it went. Okay, well... Number 2 in San Antonio wasn't hanging by a thread. He had a thigh bruise. There was no risk of rupturing his quadriceps tendon like Tony Parker did. So I'm sorry. It's an apple to a rotten orange. That's what it is. This was an apple. This was the worst. So, look. Okay, let me just throw this back at you.
Okay.
If, in fact, number 2 is the smartest player ever, that he's the one who stands up to organizations and says no. He took off 22 games this year because I'm not right. Well, was he right against Milwaukee in the conference finals? You kept telling me he's playing hurt. He's playing hurt. I heard it that day, like 8 straight days right here. Okay, if he was playing hurt, we saw him limping against Milwaukee. Why did he not shut it down then? Because he's risking next year's free agency. Just shut it down. If you think, and finally, I thought it was his quad, it was his knee. So if you're in danger of rupturing your ACL, let's say, why don't you just say I can't go? Because he said he can't go in San Antonio, right?
Skip, no, you and I both know there's a difference between tendonitis and the potential to having an ACL tear. And what had happened is that because he had overcompensated for his right quad, he had put so much stress and strain on the left knee, now he had tendonitis in the left knee. Skip, see what bothers me is that Steve Kerr said the doctors told him, or it was relayed to him, that he couldn't hurt the whatever the injury was, he couldn't make it worse. Isn't that what the Boston Celtics doctors told Isaiah Thomas with his hip? That he couldn't hurt it any worse? After he went out there, dropped 53 on the night that his sister died tragically because he was playing for his brothers? You